Yep, they actually allowed me near the Final Fantasy XIII-2 demo. 13-2. I'm sorry, I can just never say that without rolling my eyes. This is when you add some generic title to the end like Final Fantasy XIII, Cocoon Rebirth, or Wrath of the Foul Sea. 13-2 just sounds silly. Anyway, I know you're expecting me to outright savage this game. I've gone on record saying that 13 was the worst in the entire series, and believe me, after Final Fantasy X-2, I'll get to 13. But here's the impressions I got from the demo of 13-2. It's pretty much the same game. Now, I can't speak for the story, but at face value, this looks, feels, and plays almost exactly like the previous game. What you do is configure battle paradigms, which means you assign characters to perform specific automated roles like melee commando, healer, and sentinels who tank for damage. You basically let the characters auto-battle while you monitor the situation from afar and change the group paradigms as appropriate as the combat situation changes. So if you're getting punished, you switch to a defensive paradigm. If the enemy's staggered, you go all-out offensive, that sort of thing. Me personally, I find the whole thing extremely uninvolving and repetitive. Most of the time, auto battle is perfectly adequate and you can play this game on cruise control, barely even paying attention to the screen. But fans of 13, both of them, will feel right at home. Oh god, what is with the Moogle? What evolutionary purpose does the little dingleberry on his head serve? How does it fly with those little wretched wings? How am I supposed to take the events of this game seriously with a fucking Moogle prancing around and shouting Kupopo at the beginning and end of every fucking line of dialogue? I'm sorry, I just hate Moogles. They take me right out of the game. He's a constant distraction from the drama of the story, always bobbing up and down, shouting for your attention and trying to be cute. Hey, listen, look at me, I'm a Moogle Kupo! Oh, but the Moogle plays a role. They've changed the way combat initiative works by introducing the Mog clock. When a monster appears on the overland map, a stopwatch appears, and you have to run up to the enemy and hit X quickly to seize the initiative. As for the combat itself, there are a few changes. Now you're allowed one extra party member consisting of one of the enemies you've defeated in combat. When you kill an enemy, you can collect a crystal that allows you to summon them in a fight and use their powers to aid you and include them in group paradigms. And I do have to admit, this might add an interesting spin to party composition, but I doubt it. It's just another character you have no real control over besides what paradigm it's in. They're also promising more exploration and less linearity. If you'll remember, one of my biggest complaints about 13 was the fact you're stuck traveling down one long, game-long hallway with no end in sight, no choices to make, and nowhere else to go. 13-2 will have you traveling between several fully populated towns, and will open the dungeons up a bit to allow for more exploration. In fact, I ran into this issue firsthand when I ran headlong into the demo's boss monster, and it ended up fist-fucking me to death in one hit, even if I switched to a defensive style. Apparently, if you explore the area more, there's a device that weakens the boss considerably. I gotta love the balls on these characters. They don't even bat an eye at the thought of directly attacking a giant stone titan 20 stories tall, armed with nothing but a sword, a bow, and a tame demonic chili pepper. But you know, I feel like I ought to cut this game some slack because it is addressing several of my major complaints about the previous game. Believe it or not, I don't have anything personal about Final Fantasy. I don't go into Final Fantasy games wanting to hate them. You think I enjoy playing terrible RPGs? I want to play good games. But let's face facts here. Final Fantasy XIII was terrible. Truly horrendous. And minor differences aside, 13-2 just looks like more of the same. At this point, it feels like Square Enix is just being plain stubborn and unwilling to admit they made a huge mistake with 13, as if we're the crazy ones for not liking it, so they're going to keep forcing it down our throats until we do. After the complete debacle that was Final Fantasy XIV Online, Square Enix has just about burned through every last bit of fan loyalty to the Final Fantasy franchise they have left. Final Fantasy needs a serious kick in the ass to be saved. It needs to be torn down and rebuilt again from scratch and try to rekindle that old magic, to save the series, and bring people back into the fold. And I'll tell you for free what won't do it, is a fucking Moogle. Final Fantasy XIII-2 is scheduled for release in the US early 2012. God help us.